Hello and welcome to Fox Gaming and the fourth episode in the Darkness of Moria Battle Companies campaign. Measuring stick karate chop! In today's episode we will play the mission The Wolves Attack, and that is represented by 24 wargs coming from all sides onto our battle companies. As usual, there will be two battles in this video. The first one will be Karna and Cirith Ungol, who will be teaming up against the wargs, and the second battle will be Osgiliath and the Last Alliance. The story for this mission is that the battle companies have delved deep into Moria. But hearing howls in the distance, they are afraid of a warg attack and makes ready to defend themselves from the wargs inhabiting the dark caves of Moria. Alright, so the wargs will work as follows. They will move before any other battle company has the chance to move, but priority will be rolled as normal, so the battle companies will use their priority to move first or second, strike first or second, and fire their weapons first or second. The wargs will move towards the closest enemy model for them at all times and try to get to combat if possible. The rules for this mission, as in regards to victory points and influence points, is as follows. If the battle company survives the attack from the wargs, they will be rewarded with two influence points for participating and two influence points for surviving. But the battle company that has the most kills at the end of the battle will be victorious in regards to the campaign total points earned. And that means that even though they are allied in this mission, they are still rivals. So let's get into deployment for the first battle, Cirith Ungol and Karna versus the wargs. Before we can start the battle, Jonner will have to roll for his old battle wounds. Let's see if he can join this battle, and he can. Now, there is a points difference between these two warbands. Karna has 12 points less than Cirith Ungol, so they will have an additional spearman to support them in this battle. He will disappear after the battle and cannot gain experience points or advancements. So here we have the deployment for the evil forces, and Karna have clustered together, giving themselves some spear support and putting their archers in front. They have the advantage because they have archers, and Cirith Ungol does not. But they will have to use different tactics to try to get the edge in this battle. Perhaps they will have to charge out and meet the wargs head on before they can get too close. Alright, so the board is set and the pieces are ready to move. Let's start with priority for turn 1. Karna will get a 3 and Cirith Ungol gets a 5. Alright, so the wargs have moved, and not surprisingly, they move their full distance towards the battle companies in the center. Let's go on to Cirith Ungol movement, turn 1. Alright, so that is Cirith Ungol's movement done, and they went aggressively on this flank over here, trying to thin out the warg herd before they truly can attack with full strength. And 4 of them just moved back, trying to bait the other wargs to come that way. We will have to see how that works out, because now Karna is going to move. Alright, so Karna did not have the movement to get into close combat, and they chose to stand still, remaining in their defensive position, trying to get some shots off and killing some wargs on their way forward. Let's go into the shooting phase for Karna. Alright, so we will start with these two archers over here. They will fire into these wargs, and they need a 4-up to hit because they stood still, and they get 1 hit. Strength of 2 against a defense of 4, so they need 5s to wound, and they get a 3. Next we have Jackson L. He will fire into these wargs over here, needing a 3-up because he stood still, and he hits. 5s to wound, and no. Unfortunately, the shooting did not work out for Karna. Let's move on to the fight phase over here. A lot of favorable fights for Cirith Ungol, starting with the warrior with shield and the warrior with spear over here against the warg, and the orcs gets a 5. The warg, having only 1 attack, gets a 3. The orcs will need 5s to kill the warg. Can they do it? They do! And the warg is slain. Next we have Jonner and a friendly Urukai against the warg, and Jonner will set the bar. He gets a 4, and the other Urukai, fighting with the two-handed weapon, gets a 3, which is turned down to a 2. And the warg, can he respond to this? He gets a 4 as well, but Jonner has a fight of 5, which means he wins the fight. Jonner needs 4s to kill the warg. Can he do it? He does! It's slain. Great start for the orcs. Next we have Joshok and the giant spider against the warg. And Joshok sets the bar. He gets a 1! Terrible! And the giant spider, can he help out in this match? Gets the 6, but he has only a fight of 2. The warg has a fight of 3, so the warg can come back from this and gets a 5. That's not good enough. Joshok need 4s to kill the warg, and no, not good enough. But the spider has a strength of 5, I believe, so they need 4s as well, and they get it. The warg is slain. Great start for Cirith Ungol, but Karna has yet to get in their most deadliest fighters. So let's go on to priority from next turn. Karna gets a 6, and that means they get priority automatically. Alright, movement is done for the wargs, and I'm feeling a little bit claustrophobic against all of these wolves. They have engaged Karna on all fronts almost, and some of the orcs as well. Let's see how this plays out. No shooting this turn, on to Karna's movement. Alright, so the only movement done by these warbands was Stuart Lim, who moved on to the flank to help out his friend over there to get into combat. All of the other ones is either in a supportive role or already engaged, and that is true also for Cirith Ungol. So we go to the fight phase next. I totally forgot to roll for courage tests on the wargs that were attacking Jacksonell, I think, yes, because he causes terror. So let's start with this warg over here. Could he move at all? No, he could not. And that means that this warg over here could make the charge, and he does not. And that is also true for this warg over here. Could he get into combat? Yes, he could. So he will go into combat with Jacksonell over here, but these two wargs could not have moved, so they have to move back to where they started. And that is also true for this spider, which also causes terror. Let's start with this warg over here, needing an 8, and no, so he cannot charge. So have to move back. And the other warg that came from the other group, he is good, so he is into combat. Alright, let's start the fight phase. Finally, Stuart Lim is going to fight this warg, and Stuart Lim will set the bar. He gets a 6, which means he wins on fight value. Needing 5s to kill the warg, can he do it? And he gets double 6s! Incredible start for Stuart Lim, slaying the warg. Next we have these two spearmen against the warg, and the spearmen will set the bar. They get a 5, and the warg, can he beat this? Gets a 4, losing the fights. The warriors will need 5s, and they get a 6 and slays the warg. Next we have an archer with spear support against the warg, and the warg will set the bar this time, getting a 3, and the warriors get a 5, winning the fight. They need 5s to kill the warg. Can they do it? No! Next we have a one-on-one with a warg and an archer, and the archer sets the bar, getting a 6, and the warg gets a 3. Needing 5s to kill, can they tie the game? Yes, they can! The warg is slain. Next we have Jacksonell with the spear support against the warg, and the spear support sets the bar, getting a 1, and Jacksonell gets a 1 as well, and the warg gets a 4, winning the fight. The warg will need 4s to wound Jacksonell. Can he do it? No, getting a 3. Lucky break. And now we have Jeremiah, 2 attacks against one warg, and he gets a 5, and the warg responds with a 2. Needing 5s to kill, can he do it? And he gets the 6, the warg is slain, great job. Did I say Jacksonell? I meant Jeremiah in regards. Alright, that was all the fights done for Karna, and they got 4 kills, getting into the lead by 1 kill. Moving over to Cirith Ungol this time, we have a Urukai with 200 weapon against the warg, and the Urukai gets a 1, and the warg gets a 5. The warg need 4s to kill, and they get it. The Urukai is slain. Next we have Krishla against the warg, and Krishla will set the bar. He gets a 1, and the warg gets a 2. needing 4s to wound Krishla and getting the 4. Getting to take a fate roll for Krishla, and he saves. Next we have an orc with spear support against the warg, and the orc sets the bar, getting a double ones. What's up with this rolling from Cirith Ungol? I guess their luck has run out. The warg responds, getting a 4. Luckily, the orc in front has a shield, and that means that the warg will need 5s to kill, and they get a 1. Moving over to the other side, these two orcs are fighting a warg, and the orcs get a 6, and that is great. But they have equal fight value, so the warg can tie this. And no, gets a 5. The orcs will need 5s to kill the warg, and they get it! The warg is slain, making the score 4-4. Next we have Jonner and Joshok against a warg, teaming up against the foul beast. Joshok gets a 1, and Jonner, can you do something about this? Getting a 5, wonderful. And the warg needs a 6 here? No, gets a 1. Jonner and Joshok both need 4s to kill the warg, and Jonner will start, he gets a 1, and Joshok getting a 1 as well, terrible. And lastly, we have the warg against the giant spider, and the giant spider with the lower fight will set the bar, getting double 1s. What's up with this game? And the warg gets the 5. The warg will need 4s to wound, and getting a 5, taking 1 wound on the spider. As the game currently stands, the score is 4-4. And a lot of wargs has died, and only 1 orc has been slain. But everything can happen in this game, so let's go on to priority for the next turn. Karna gets a 5, and Cirith Ungol gets a 5 as well, which means Cirith Ungol will get priority. The wargs will have to move first, but in this scenario, the giant spider is the closest enemy for all of these wargs, so they will need to take courage tests. Let's start with this one, needing an 8. And he's good, so he goes into combat with the giant spider. The next one, getting an 8 as well, so going in. And the last one, getting a 9. They are hungry for blood, spider blood. Let's go on to the other movements. Once again, the wargs have surrounded our champions in the mountain. And we'll go over to movement for Cirith Ungol in just a minute, and Karna after that. So let's see what they do. So that is movement done for both sides, and we have some interesting fights, some 2-on-1, some 1-on-1s, and yeah, so let's go into the fight phase. Starting over here with the giant spider against a warg. Remember, he has lost 1 wound, but can he do something about this warg? Sets the bar and getting a 4. The warg responds and gets a 3. The giant spider will need 4s to kill the warg. Can he do it? He gets the 6. The warg is slain by the venomous fangs. Next we have Jonner against a warg, trying to save his spider friend, and Jonner sets the bar, he gets a 2, and the warg gets a 5. Needing a 4 to wound Jonner, and he gets a 3. Next we have Joshok and a friend against the warg, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 6. Oh no! And Joshok, can you do something about this? Getting a 4, and friend gets a 3. The warg will strike at the 2-handed weapon orc, seeing that as the biggest threat, needing a 4 to kill him, and he gets it. The orc is slain. And now we have 2 orcs against the warg, and the orcs will set the bar, getting a 4, and the warg responds with a 5. The orc has a shield, so the warg will need 5s to kill him, and gets a 6. The orc is slain. Oh no! Moving over here, Krishla is fighting 2 wargs, and Krishla will set the bar. He gets a 3, and the 2 wargs get double 6s, intent on the kill. Remember that Krishla does not have any fate left, so any 4s on this roll means he's slain. Let's see what they get. And they get a 4 and a 5, so sadly Krishla bites the dust. Next we have an orc with spear against the warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 5, and the orc gets a 3. 4s to kill the orc, and no. The last fight for Cirith Ungol is this orc with shield against this warg, and the orc sets the bar, getting a 4, and the warg gets a 3. Needing 5s to kill the warg, can he do it? And he gets the 5, the warg is slain. So Cirith Ungol has 6 kills in total to Karna's 4, but now Karna is going into the fray, starting with Stuart Lim against the warg. And Stuart Lim sets the bar, he gets a 4, and the warg can respond to this, he gets a 5. Needing 4 to wound Stuart Lim, and he gets the 6. Fate roll for Stuart Lim. Can you save yourself? No! But Stuart Lim has 2 wounds, so 1 wound remaining. Next we have a warg against 2 warriors of Karna, and the warg gets a 6, and the warriors gets a 5. Needing 4 to kill one of the Karna warriors, and gets the 6, the warrior is slain. Next we have 2 warriors against a warg, and the warrior sets the bar, getting a 3, and the warg gets a 1. Needing 5 to kill the warg, can they do it? No! Next we have a 1-on-1, and Karna will set the bar, getting a 5, and the warg gets a 1. 5 to kill, and no! My voice just broke. Next we have Jackson L and the friend against a warg, and Jackson L sets the bar, getting a 3, his friend gets a 2, and the warg a 4. Jackson L will use a point of might to win this fight, getting to make strikes. They need 5 to kill the warg, starting with Jackson L, he gets a 1 and his friend gets a 6, so the warg is slain. Next we have Jeremiah fighting against 2 wargs this time. He needs both his attack to win this, I guess, and he gets a 2, and the wargs get a 3. Jeremiah will use his points of might to get a 3 and winning the fight. He will need 5s to kill the warg. Can he do it? He gets double 6. Great intent on killing the warg, and it's slain. Actually, he was in combat with 2 wargs, so he slays 2. Great job. As it stands right now, Karna has 7 kills and Cirith Ungol has 6 kills, and that is really close. But another point of note is that the wargs have lost over 50% of their starting numbers and will have to start to take courage tests. First we will do the priority. Karna gets a 1 and Cirith Ungol gets a 6, so they will start. But will the wargs remain? Let's start with this warg over here, needing an 8, and he's fine. And the next warg getting an 8 as well, and the last one over here getting a 10. So all of these 3 can remain in the fights. I will just roll up the remaining wargs and we'll see what happens next. Alright, so 5 of the wargs left the battlefield with their tail between their legs. Only 3 remains on this side and 3 on this side. Who will get the win in this match? It's close and it's really exciting. Let's go into the movement phase for the wargs. Alright, every model is engaged in combat and the outcome of this is really exciting. And the main factor, I believe, is this fight over here, because we have 3 wargs on this side and 3 wargs on this side, and if all wargs are killed by their respective warbands, the game will go to Karna. But these 2 orcs will have to snatch this kill to get a advantage in this fight. So let's go into the fight phase. Starting with this fight, the warg will set the bar, getting a 6, and the spider gets a 3, and the orc gets a 1. Going against the spider, needing a 4, and they get a 3. Next we have Johnner against the warg, and the Johnner will set the bar at a 2, and the warg gets a 3. I don't remember if Johnner used his points of might, but I think he did not, so he will use his point to win this fight. Needing a 4 to kill the warg, and he gets it! The warg is slain. Next we have Joshok against the warg, and Joshok sets the bar, getting a 4, and the warg gets a 4 as well, but Joshok will win on fight value. Needing 4s to kill the warg, and he gets a 5, the warg is slain. Next we have a 3 against 1 over here, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 6, whoa, and I think that is Jackson L. Yes, Jackson L. He gets 1 attack and he gets a 6 as well, which means he wins on fight value. Jackson L needs 5s to kill the warg, and he gets the 6. The warg is slain. Next we have Jeremiah and a friend against the warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 1, and that means he loses automatically. Jackson L needs 5s, or Jeremiah needs 5s, and he kills the warg. Alright, now this fight here is important. The warg will set the bar and gets a 5. That is very strong from him. And the orcs gets a 3. Stuart Lim gets the 6, which means they win the fight. But as the rules work, they are allies in this combat, which means that everyone can make strikes. But in due fairness, I will make it so that Karna will strike first, as they won the fight in this match. So Stuart Lim will strike first, needing 5s to kill the warg. Can he do it? And he does. He slays the warg, getting 1 point for them. Alright, as it stands right now, Karna has 10 points in kills and Cirith Ungol has 8 and can only get 1 more. So they have lost, but both battle companies has 1. So they will each get 4 influence points, but Karna will get 3 points for winning this matchup. So let's move over to the next battle. We can just quickly determine if the warg is staying or not, and he is. So probably these orcs would kill this warg. Let's just roll a die. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Who gets the kill? And it's a 6, so it's a reroll. Okay, so 1. So Jonner will get the kill on the last warg. Alright, we are ready to start the second battle, but first we have to roll some old battle wounds. Let's start with Carson. He gets a 6 and can join. Next we have Louison, and he can join as well, and Malarzian, the last one, gets a 6, so everyone can join. Alright, so I'll just have to apologize if you hear some background noise. It's the neighbor who plays very loud music. But we will get the battle report underway no matter what. And here we have the battle companies ready to engage with the wargs. Let's go into priority for the first turn. Quick mention, if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, you can follow the link in the description. My wife did so this week as well, and I greatly appreciate it. It makes so that I can reinvest this money into the hobby and make more awesome content. If you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. Just subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment and share it with someone that you know. That will also help me a great deal, and it's free. So let's get into priority for turn 1. Starting with the Last Alliance, they get a 4 and Osgiliath gets a 5. Alright, so the wargs moved as you would expect, straight for our heroes and warriors in the fray. Now let's move over to Osgiliath, turn 1. Alright, I forgot to mention that we have a new hero in our midst, Doritor, which is a warrior with shield from Osgiliath. He is named after Dorito Master, who has commented a lot on my videos, so that is a shout out to you. Thank you very much for supporting me. Now, this is the moment for the battle companies. The Osgiliath warband rearranged their lines to face the wargs head on over here, but their archers stood still, trying to thin out the warg attacks. On the other side, the Last Alliance moved forward with some of their warriors, but had to defend from the wargs coming from this side over here, trying to get some shots in before they charge. Let's get into the shoot phase for Osgiliath. Starting with these 2 rangers in the front, shooting at the wargs from this side, needing a 3-up to hit because they stood still, getting 1 hit. 5s to kill, and they get the 6. 1 warg is slain immediately. Next we have Malarzian. He will also fire at the wargs, needing a 3-up to hit, and he hits, needing a 5 to kill, getting the 5. Amazing start for Osgiliath. Next we have Simonir, and he will fire at these wargs, needing a 3-up to hit, and he hits, strength of 3, but still needs 5s to kill the warg, and he does it as well. What an amazing shooting phase. Lastly, we have the Numenorian with bow, who will fire over at these wargs as well, needing a 4-up to hit. He stood still after all, and he hits strength of 2, so he will need 5s to kill. And he gets the 5! What's up with the shooting in this game? Alright, so no fighting this turn, so we move over to the next priority phase. The Last Alliance gets a 2 and Osgiliath gets a 5. Alright, so here we have the initial charge of the wargs getting into combats all around. Just a couple of them did not have enough movement to get in, and the response for the good forces were to get some favorable fights in. Malarzian got into combats over here, and over here we have a 2 against 1. So let's go into the fight phase and see how this plays out. Remember, the score is 2-2. Starting over here, we have Louison against the warg, and Louison will strike two-handedly, and he sets the bar at a 1, and the warg gets a 4. The warg will need 5s to wound, and getting a 3. Next we have a Numenorian with spear and shield against the warg, and the Numenorian gets a 1, and the warg gets a 3. A little bit scared maybe. The warg needs 5s, and nope. Next, a Numenorian with shield against the warg, and the Numenorian gets a 4, and the warg gets a 4 as well. But the Numenorian has a greater fight value, so he will win. Needing force to kill the warg because of his strength of 4 against defense 4, and not good enough. Simonir against a warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 6. Simonir, a 3. Needing 5s to kill, and gets a 4. Next we have Karsanil against 2 wargs, and he will be shielding against these opponents. And he gets a 4, and the wargs gets a 5. They need 5s to wound Karsanil, and they get a 1 and a 3. Next we have 2 Men of Numenor against the warg, and the Man of Numenor sets the bar, getting a 3. And the warg gets a 3 as well, but loses on fight value. The Numenorians will need 4s to kill the warg, and they get 2 4s, slaying the warg. The last fight for Last Alliance is an elf and a man fighting against a warg, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 3. The elf, fighting two-handedly, gets a 6, winning the fight. The elf will need 4s to kill the warg, and he does not get it. And the man will need 4s as well, because with strength of 4, and he gets the kill. Moving over to Osgiliath's fights, we have a ranger fighting 2 wargs, and this is an important roll for him. He needs to roll high, getting a 5, and that is well done. The wargs gets a 4, which means he wins the fight. Needing 5s to slay a warg, and getting a 6. Wonderful! Next we have a ranger against the warg, and the ranger sets the bar, getting a 3. The warg gets a 6. And the warg will kill the ranger on a roll of a 4. Can he do it? No. Next we have Malarsian against the warg, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 2. Malarsian gets a 3, winning the fight. Needing 5s to kill, and gets the 6. The warg is slain. Next we have a 1-on-1 on the flank over here, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 1, and the man gets a 3, winning the fight. 5s to kill, and getting a 2. Next we have Michaelir against a warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 6, and Michaelir gets a 5, and he has 2 points of might, so he will use 1 point, turning that into a 6, winning the fight. That is not true, of course, because they have equal fight value, so we'll have to roll off. On a 1 to 3 goes to the warg. And it does. Needing 6s to wound because of shield wall and high defense, and getting a 3. Next we have Tylero and a friend against a warg, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 3. Tylero getting a 2, and his friend, can he do this? Getting a 6. Needing 5s to kill, and Tylero will start, getting a 3, and his friend gets a 4. The new appointed hero, Doritor, is going to fight this warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 5. Doritor getting a 5 as well, which means the fight is a tie. On a 1 to 3 goes to evil or goes to the wargs, and it does. 6s to wound Doritor, getting a 4. And lastly we have this fight, and the Osgiliath warrior will go first, getting a 2. The warg gets a 4. 6s to kill, no. Alright, so the score is 4 to 4, and we go into priority for the next turn, and Last Alliance gets a 2, Osgiliath gets a 5. Alright, so that is movement done for the wargs and both of the good forces, and the fight is on. All of the wargs are in combat, so we will see how this plays out in the fight phase. Starting with Osgiliath, we have a 1-on-1 fight over here, and the man will set the bar, getting a 2. The warg gets a 2 as well, so it's a roll-off. 1 to 3 goes to the wargs, and it does. Because the warrior of Osgiliath is not in a shield wall, he will not get a bonus of +1 defense, so the warg will need 5s this time to kill him. And they get the 5, the warrior is slain! Next we have Doritor against a warg, and Doritor gets a 5, the warg gets a 3. Needing 5s to kill the warg, and gets a 1. Tylero and a friend against the warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 2. Tylero gets a 1, and his friend gets a 5. They need 5s to kill the warg, and Tylero gets a 6, slaying the warg with his spear. Michaelir against a warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 2. Michaelir wins with a 5. Needing 5s here, getting a 5, slaying the warg. Next we have a 1-on-1 fight with a regular warrior, and the warrior gets a 6, and the warg gets a 3. Needing 5s, can the roll continue? And no. Malarsian is next, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 1. Malarsian gets a 3, winning the fight. Needing 5s? No. Next we have a 1-on-1, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 5, and ranger gets a 2. Needing 4s to kill the ranger, and no. Same kind of fight, and this time the ranger will go first, getting a 2, the warg gets a 4. Needing 4s to kill the ranger, and gets the 4, the ranger is slain. Moving over to the Last Alliance, Louison is fighting this warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 2. Louison gets a 6, which is turned down to a 5, but he wins the fight. Needing 4s to kill, and gets the 5, the warg is slain. Man against the warg over here, and the man sets the bar, getting a 2, the warg gets a 3. The warg will need 5s, and getting a 5, and this is a regular warrior, so he's slain. Next we have a man with shield against the warg gets a 6, and the man gets a 5. Needing 5s to kill the man, and getting a 2. Simonir against a warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 5. That is a great result, and only a 2 for Simonir. 5s to kill, getting the 6. Simonir will need to fate this, and gets a 3, but he will use a point of might, turning that into a 4, saving himself. Next we have a Numenorian against the warg, and the Numenorian sets the bar, getting a 1, and the warg gets a 6. Needing 4s to kill the man, and gets the 6, the archer is slain. Next we have Carzonil against the warg, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 4, and Carzonil gets a 3. He will use his might points to getting a 4, winning the fight on fight value. Needing 4s to kill the warg, and getting a 5, great use of might. Next we have a man against the warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 4. The man gets a 4 as well, but wins on fight value. Needing 4s to kill, getting a 5. Next we have a warg against a man and an elf, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 1, which means he will lose automatically because of the man's fight value. The elf will strike first, needing 4s to kill, and he gets it! As it stands right now, both companies has lost 2 models each, and the wargs are reduced to below 50%. As points-wise, we have Last Alliance on 8 kill points and Osgiliath on 6, so we will have to see how this plays out in the next turn. The Last Alliance gets a 6, Osgiliath gets a 4. But we will have to roll courage chests for the wargs. I will do that off camera, so we'll be back in just a second. Alright, so 3 of the wargs fled the battlefield, but the rest of their warriors were remaining. And we will now have to look if the Osgiliath warband can slay more than the Last Alliance in this turn. Not a lot of wargs left, but the fighting is yet to be determined. Osgiliath is in fights with 4 of the wargs, and Last Alliance in fights with 3 of them. So the dice will decide who gets on top in this round. I suspect that this will be the most important round of this battle. Let's go into the fight phase. Starting with the Last Alliance, we have this warg over here who will set the bar, getting a 1, which means he will lose automatically. And he's trapped as well. Carzonil will strike first, needing 4s, and he does not get it. The next warrior over here needs 4s as well, getting a 5, slaying the warg. Next we have Simonir and a friend with a 2-handed weapon against the warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 1, which means he loses automatically. Simonir will strike first, needing 5s, and he gets a 1, and his friend, can he do it? He gets the 6, the warg is slain. Next we have Louison and an elf friend fighting this warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 1, which means he loses automatically. Louison will need 4s, and getting a 6, slaying the warg. Moving to the Osgiliath fights, Malarsian and his friend are fighting this warg, and the warg will set the bar, getting a 4. Malarsian gets a 2, and his friend gets a 6. Malarsian will need 5s to kill the warg, and he gets a 5. Great job. Next we have Michael Lear and a friend against the warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 2. Michael Lear gets a 2 as well, and his friend gets a 4. They need 5s to kill the warg, and starting with Michael Lear, he gets a 5, slaying the warg. Next we have Tylero against a warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 4. Tylero gets a 5, winning the fights. Needing 5s to kill, can he do it? He do! The warg is slain. And the last fight, Doritor and a friend is fighting a warg, and the warg sets the bar, getting a 4. Doritor, the new hero, gets a 1, and his friend gets the 6. Doritor will need 4 5s to kill the warg, and he gets a 3, and his friend gets a 5, slaying the last warg. Alright, so the last warg is slain, and minimal casualties for the good forces, which is nice for them, but the points in this game is as follows. 10 points to Osgiliath, and the Last Alliance got 11 points, which means they win this round, but both are victorious in terms of the scenario, so they both get 4 influence points, 2 for participating and 2 for winning, but the Last Alliance is victorious in regards to points in this series. Now we will go over to the post-battle, rolling for reinforcements and injuries, so let's get into that. Before we get into the post-battle, I will just update you on the scores so far in the campaign. This was the 4th battle after all, so we are 1/3 finished with this season, and the points are as follows. Osgiliath has 6 points with winning the 1st and the 3rd scenario. The Last Alliance winning the 1st, 3rd and 4th. Have 9 points. Karna also has 9 points, winning the 1st, 2nd and this fight or this battle. And Cirith Ungol has 6 points, winning the 1st and the 2nd battle. So that is the score. Tied for 1st are the Last Alliance and Karna, and in a close 2nd we have Osgiliath and Cirith Ungol. Now let's go into the post-battle. Alright, so we'll be doing things a little bit differently this time. We will take injuries for all companies first, then upgrades, and then recruitments. So let's start with this Osgiliath warband. They have 2 warriors who will need to roll. So let's start with the first warrior. Starting with the warrior, he gets a 5, which means he has to miss the next battle, and the ranger gets a 6, which means he gets a full recovery. Next we have these 2 Numenorian warriors, and starting with the left one, getting a 7 full recovery, and the archer gets 7 full recovery. Karna had only 1 injured warrior, and he gets a 12 full recovery. And lastly, we have Cirith Ungol, starting with the warrior with shield on the right. He gets a 6 full recovery, and the next Uruk-hai warrior with 2-handed weapon gets a 7, which is a full recovery as well. The next one with 2-handed weapon gets a 9, which is a full recovery. Lastly, we have Krishla rolling on the hero and injury charge, and he gets a 6, which is a full recovery. Alright, moving into advancement, starting with Osgiliath. They had 2 warriors, 1 ranger and 1 warrior with spear and shield, and Tylero, who got enough experience to be upgraded. Starting with the ranger on a roll of a 6, he will become a hero. And he does not, and the warrior with spear and shield, rolling for him, getting a 1, so nothing. Tylero is on the path of the warrior, and he will roll now, see what he gets, a 9, and that is strength or defense. So he will choose strength because he is well armored from before, getting a strength of 4. That is really nice for him. Next we go into advancements for the Last Alliance, and Karzonil, the army leader, got enough experience points along with 2 of his warriors. We will roll for the warriors first. They need a 6 to become a hero, starting with the one with spear and shield on the right. And he gets a 5, and the next one gets a 4. Karzonil is on the path of the general, and we will roll for him now. He gets a 5, which is Rally to Me. The hero increases the range of their standfast by 3 inches. So it's increased to a 9 because it's already on 6 to a maximum of 12. So 9 inch with Rally to Me, which is great for a leader. Alright, so advancements for Karna. We have Stuart Lim and Jeremiah, who got enough experience, as well as this warrior over here. So this warrior will roll first, getting a 1, so nothing happens to him. Jeremiah, which is on the path of the warrior, will roll, and he gets a 9, which is Blade Master. The hero may reroll a single d6 when making a dual roll. I will have to try to remember that. It will be hard, but I will try my best. Blade Master, it's a great upgrade for him. Next we have Stuart Lim, which is on the path of the general, and he gets an 8, and that is attack or wound. He has already increased his wounds to 2, so I think that a attack value of 3 will be beneficial for him, getting up to now 3 attacks because of his two-handed or dual-wielding weapons. Moving over to Cirith Ungol, and boy, did they get a lot of chances to advance. The spider, the warrior with spear, and the 2 warriors with shield will try to get advancements, as well as Jonner and Josok, the heroes. Let's start with the giant spider. On a 6, he will become a hero, and he will not. The orc with spear needs a 6 to become a hero, no. And the first one with shield, no. And the last one with shield, no. Jonner is already on the path of the warrior, so he will roll now. Let's see what he gets. A 2, which is parry. The hero may force their opponent to reroll a single d6 when making dual roll against this hero. And that is a great defensive buff for him. And this will be the first upgrade to Josok, and he will also choose the path of the warrior, and he gets a 7, which is fight. And that means that he gets a fight of 4, I believe. 1 second. No, he gets a fight of 5, and that is a great upgrade for him. Alright, so for reinforcements, one of you commented in one of my videos that it may be a good idea to include a rallying horn in the warband as early as possible to get bonuses to reinforcements, and when we are coming into the battlefield as a reinforcement in the mission. So I will try to get that into the warbands. So this time Karna and the Last Alliance has 5 influence points each, so they will use that on a rallying horn. Osgiliath has only 3, so they will save up to get that next time. And Cirith Ungol has only 2 influence points, so they will not be using anything to upgrade their warband this time. But Karna and Last Alliance will get a rallying horn, and yeah, that is it for now. Like, subscribe, and buy me a coffee if you want to. If not, that's totally fine. And yes, see you next week. Bye.